Me this time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Welcome. Dustin Grice. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you do your own intro because I'm terrible at them, first of all.
Oh.
And I think you'll do a better job of encapsulating what you do because I think you do a lot of things. So can you tell us what you do?
Oh, that's a great question. When we're at events, I have to do a basic intro as well when we introduce ourselves.
Give us the
So
whole
I'll-
one.
I'll-
Give us the
Yeah.
big
go
one.
right back into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know what I actually tell most of the viewers that are watching our shows? I said, I actually started where you are right now, sitting, watching some other performers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back in Eden Prairie, probably 1995-ish, maybe?
Okay.
Something like that. And I saw my first professional athlete performing at our local school. And so that just hit me so hard at that moment. And then I don't think anything changed then, but probably over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, I always remembered that and how much fun that looked, as I got older and continued riding. But I had a career of riding professional BMX contests and events really worldwide over the years. And I still do ride, I would say, almost harder than ever now, even like since COVID and things kind of changed a little bit. But I still ride a lot. But one important thing to me over the years outside of riding was always having an education to fall back on. And so that for me was building websites. So
Okay.
bikes and websites was kind of my world. So, and they've always balanced each other out. But I teach at Hennepin Technical College, and that's also where I went to school. And I don't know, just life's good.
And you created this, is it the brand, Ride brand? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
probably a lot of little projects and different things over the years. But yeah, so a lot of the apparel. I originally went to school for graphic design and then got into web.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a web developer, creating some products, putting them on the internet, if somebody happens to buy it,
Brand,
the mail,
just
ship it out.
branding. Yeah, branding.
Yeah, and so I've helped a lot of clients with their own projects over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was kind of a simple thing to create our own brands and
Mm-hmm.
and projects and events and everything over the years as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on and no lack of nothing to do.
Stuff to keep you busy.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure. So your background is in, aside from the education side of things, like BMX bike riding. When did you get started doing that?
That probably middle school,
Okay.
and I would say a handful of buddies, had BMX bikes,
Mhm.
and so I remember.
Mongoose?
Oh yeah, Mongoose, definitely
Yes.
Mongoose, GT. I don't. Do you remember the dynos?
Yes, sir.
Dyno, yeah, Dyno
Yes.
was the Dyno Comp was actually my first BMX bike, and yeah, just learn little tricks at home, stuff like that. And my next door neighbor actually also we kind of get into it around the same time, middle school, and then into high school. I would say as another probably turning point with riding was when you get your license and you get your car, because now I'm not only just riding locally, in the Eden Prairie area, but we're able to actually drive down to Mankato and go to their indoor skate park, or go to
Okay.
there's a lot of different indoor parks that opened up over the years. On average, they maybe have a lifespan of about 2 years on average. And then in 2010, 2011, we started exploring what it would be like to have our own facility, and then we opened up our own. It was an old furniture factory, and we called it the factory. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And we had that for about a decade, and which, like I said, averages about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So we were planning to just have it for a winter, and then we got into the second winter and third winter, just kept going. And we were in kind of a flexible space that we kind of slowly started expanding a little bit. And it turned into something that I don't think any of us ever would have imagined. And so many kids and families and riders, and we ran it like a 24-hour fitness. So you made a monthly payment, you had your own key, and you use it whenever you want. And
Okay.
it's
pretty sweet.
and there's still nothing like no one's done this 24-hour type of facility around the world. And I can't believe that, we pulled something like that off. And just looking back over the years and seeing all the talent and the stories and the memories and just kind of the evolution of those 10 years, pretty special thing. So it definitely made quite an impact on our local scene here. And
That's awesome.
and it's all in storage right now, and
Just waiting for its next iteration.
It is, and we got to find the right next home for the next decade or longer.
Yeah,
and
that's an impressive lifespan for something that typically has like a 1 to 2 year, like going a decade. And you're like, especially if you didn't like walk into it with like that kind of business plan in place necessarily.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yes, not at all. Nothing. It was
fell into it.
Yeah, deliver plywood and just start building some ramps and just go from there. But pretty cool.
I want to hear. Can I interject? Yeah, I just want to hear about like those first years when you're like, planting the seed with becoming a BMX like biker. Like, what's the transition like? You're just in a backyard hitting some jumps you and your buddies made, or like, tell me a little bit like that.
Was there a path when you're a middle schooler?
Like, what are you doing?
Or you just fall into it?
Yeah, what the heck? How the hell do you even find your way
there's
through
usually
that?
a couple, the kids in school would talk about some jumps kind of down over by this, by the river over here, or the
that
creek
sweet
or
jump,
whatever.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you'd go check out a few different areas. You'd maybe have your local area that you spend most of your time in, but you'd grab your bike and backpack and try to somehow carry a shovel while you're riding the bike and then go down to the, you might hide in the
across
woods
the
overnight.
handlebars.
And,
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was definitely more time spent back then, building the jumps and not that there isn't now. There's still a lot, but it's back then it was just there. It was such an early point in time or just a much earlier part of the sport back then.
Yeah.
That I think now back then you rode everything.
Mm-hmm.
If it was street or a big half pipe or the park or the dirt jumps or the flat ground, like you rode everything kind of in my generation of growing up. And now it's there's definitely more of like, if you're a street rider, you're just a street rider. If you're a vert rider, you're just a vert rider. Or park
so
or
it's
dirt
sort of
or whatever.
evolved into like having a little bit more
Yeah.
specialization.
Yeah. Definitely. I would still say that the riders who do ride everything are some of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are just and they really stand out. I think the more you do ride, the more it helps with all your riding, no matter what you ride.
Yeah, I can see that. And then, so you just started doing it like just for fun, like middle school, and then professionally eventually, or how did that evolve?
Yeah, I think events and shows were kind of the first eye opener to doing what you love in front of people, and that was actually at the Minnesota State Fair. I think when I turned 16. I think at the time, for some reason, they wanted riders to be 16, and my birthday is actually August 28th. It's always during the state fair.
Yeah.
And so for some reason, I remember I had to wait until I was 16, and then I went out there and rode my first show.
Okay, so like mid-fair, you were like, now I can go.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And honestly, it was probably that moment. I had no idea at the time that's what would spark this whole life ahead of me with events and performing and everything. So, but yeah, and then the contest, there's little local contests here and there over the years, kind of rare. But then Do Tour actually did something called Free Flow. It was like Do Tour. It was like kind of their amateur contest, and they actually came to, I don't know, maybe a dozen different cities around the U.S. and they came into Minneapolis, and I went to one of that contest there, and there was one skateboard winner and one BMX winner, and then I won the BMX contest, and then all the winners went down to Orlando for the Free Flow finals, and I ended up getting second there.
Okay.
And that was probably one of the there might have been a couple little out of state things here and there, but probably one of the bigger events that really, started motivating me for, more of those. But
how old were you when that happened?
Gosh, that's a good question. I want to say, I don't think I was still in high school, but it was probably right around that.
Right around graduation
19
or something, yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But at 16, you did the state fair.
Correct, yeah.
What do you remember? What tricks you were able to pull off in those years?
Back then?
Yeah.
So I was flipping at the time, and not many people were doing flips around here, so I'm sure that was another reason to try to get me out there or something. But back then we would go to camps. I don't know if you've heard of Woodward. Woodward is this action sports camp. It's also a gymnastics camp out in Pennsylvania at the time. Now there's one in there's been one in California for a long time, but now there's these smaller ones at in Colorado at Copper or Tahoe, and they're kind of these smaller indoor venues that also have a ski and snowboard hill as well. But they had the foam pit at the time. And so that's where you go and learn some of that stuff. So
You
Very
try it
forgiving.
and- yeah.
Very forgiving, yeah.
Yes, and my first job was probably caddying at Bear Path, actually. And then I started working at Dairy Queen, and then I'd save my money to eventually buy a flight to go fly to this camp.
Okay, cool.
And then, so I went 1 year. Then the next year, some other buddies wanted to go, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure our parents let us drive across the country at
That's
16
wild.
to go to bike camp.
With MapQuest directions.
Exactly,
Yeah,
for
for
directions.
real, for
Yeah,
real.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
So yeah, but Woodward, yeah. So we learned flips there, and then quite a few other, tail whips or 360s, a lot of the basics, and then I think another one back then that I learned early on was a flare, where you go up a quarter pipe and you kind of drop your shoulder and you look back and you go up, you do a 180 flip, and then you turn around the quarter pipe, come back down, and it's kind of a cool trick because the more you kind of bring up your knees, it starts to rotate the flip so much faster.
Okay.
So as you pop up and go into the air, you can kind of control the speed. And
Okay.
same with our
So
flips.
kind of like a barrel roll type of a thing?
It kind of is.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yep. So
Maybe we can splice in a little
It-
visual
yeah,
of
the
that
flare.
right now
I
somewhere. I,
know
don't know.
There's definitely video from the state fair back
Alex
then.
is like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, we should actually find a little bit of that. Yeah. I think that'd be great.
So, but yeah, a lot of those basic tricks, I had a riding style that was kind of more of those flashy show type of tricks, which I just always loved doing, I guess.
Yeah.
But they just also happen to be the ones that, are kind of the eye openers and at shows or
Yeah.
in events and stuff. Yeah.
I love that. So back in the day when I don't even think I had a mongoose myself. I never got into that. My parents were like, fuck that. And I was like playing like football, basketball, all that shit. So I didn't really have time to do too much biking. But I spent my whole childhood biking, just like normal street bikes and shit. But I remember the first time I could do like the reverse handlebar or like spin your handlebars while you're moving.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the only trick I ever could do.
Yeah.
I think I could do it right now, but
While you're pedaling and spin the bars?
yeah,
or
like
spin
kind of
Pop a
slowly.
wheelie
But
and-
you can spin the whole handlebar around
and stay balanced.
and stay
and
up,
then
stay
keep
up
going.
and keep
Yep.
going. Yep.
Yep.
So that was like my
Cheers, man.
my one trick that I could do.
Bar
Thank you.
spins.
Yes.
Yeah, I got
Love
nothing.
It, love it. Yeah, that was my trick. I could do that, and yeah, that was the end of it all.
Very
That
short.
was my
career.
short-lived career.
That is where it starts,
Yeah.
and just
Oh, it
understanding
was addicting.
the bike.
Even
and,
that
yep,
was addicting. Yeah, understanding. Yeah, I mean, shit. You see some old heads. I saw a couple videos recently. I won't make you find this one. But just like an old dude, just like hopping on his bike and then spinning around
on like an older bike, like
on
an
like
old school
a
bike.
old school kind of like maybe
Yep.
a dyno or something like that. But just doing some crazy tricks.
Yeah,
but-
mag wheels. Remember the mags?
Maybe.
Like the big. There's three big plastic pieces. You didn't have all the spokes.
No, I
You
don't
know
think
what
they were
I'm talking
mag wheels. No, I don't think they were mag wheels. They were standard spokes, I think. But what's funny is there was a carnival in the town that I grew up in, Winstead. I don't even know if it was a carnival. It was just like Winstead Days or whatever. It was like this
Separate from Windfest or whatever it was.
Windstock. Yeah,
okay.
separate. It was like, I don't even think they do it anymore, to be honest. But they used to have like a couple rides and a Ferris wheel or some shit roll through, and there was something, and I call my dad, and I'm like, Dad, there's what's the things that you put on the back? The
Pegs.
The pegs.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, I fucking need these pegs. And I had like a Huffy no need for pegs. But I don't think anyone ever used them. Like, I never had somebody riding on the back or anything like that. But I needed these fucking pegs, dude. I was so into it for at least a couple summers. But I got my dad hooked it up. You know, it was like $40 or some shit, and I got these like aluminum or whatever, like just screw on pegs and rocked it out. And I thought I was so fucking cool for like that whole summer, you know.
Is it
awesome.
still working? Pegs
no
are
one
awesome.
no one else had pegs. I was like, this is what's up.
So you start with the pegs on the back, and then eventually you get the pegs on the front.
Yep.
Well, then as you keep riding, there's usually kind of a natural side that you start grinding on. So if you're on a rail or a ledge or something like that, or you're going on a stair set or something, you might grind on on one side, on the front and back.
Yep.
Well, then you end up removing the other side, because it's just not your natural side. So a lot of riders do only ride with two pegs, one in front, one on back.
Wow.
And one side. Like they're like a lefty or a righty, basically.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And then people who don't know as much about BMX, they see that and be like, why do you have your peg? Why do you only have one peg? Or what, you know?
Yeah, it's unbalanced. Yeah.
Yep. But that's, if you see a rider with pegs only on one side, you can kind of glance and you're like, yeah, they probably know what they're doing.
So if you're right-handed, would you have them probably on your left side? Or does it kind of...
That's a good question. I'm left-handed, and I actually grind on my left, but I think that's more...
So more on your dominant side.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, maybe it's a terrible question. I don't know. It just made me think of it. I'm going to derail the whole thing real quick, yeah.
Derail. I see what you did there. Derail.
Yes, sir.
And then the gyro, so you can spin the handlebars so your brake cables don't get caught and stuff like that. So, yeah.
What was the experience like doing your first time doing a flip? So you said you went to this special spot
the camp.
with the pads that you jump into or whatever.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know what happened, but I don't think I was... There's so many different buildings, different places to ride, and I don't know if we were split up in different groups, but I remember meeting up with the guys I went there with, and they had like already learned them, and I was like, wait, what?
Shit.
And just in the foam or whatever, so then I had to kind of catch up, but I went in, and then I went up, and I just right into the foam upside down, and it happened over and over and over. I'm like, I cannot get this around, and so it took probably 7 or 8 tries, and then got around, and then I don't know if we did them that same day. I think it might have been, because I think it was towards the end of the week, and you only have a week there, Monday through Friday, and then you head home. But and then we had to do them on the actual. They have a padded landing next to it, so you can do. It's dump truck liner actually. We actually use it still today, but it's a slippery surface if you fall, but your tires stick to it. So it's great for landing and or learning new tricks. But yeah, we had to do it right there on the actual ramp, before we left. And then all of a sudden, now you come back home, and now you're in a whole different environment, different transition, different everything. And like there's no foam, there's no resi, there's no padded landing. And you're like, well,
that's terrifying.
And that back then for sure, it was like the first time you're gonna do a flip again, and it's on a wooden ramp or,
But you did it anyways.
Yeah,
because you think you're indestructible when you're that age.
And especially if you're riding with a group of friends and you're all kind of pushing each other, motivating
egging each other on a little bit.
I mean, and that's what it's always been. I mean, we rode last weekend. There's a handful of us, and we're all trying different things, and so. But yeah, you get one. Usually, one person's got to kind of break the ice, and then all of a sudden, and then everyone does it. But
So I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but we did an event together in end of September, right? Yeah.
Beginning of September.
Yep.
Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend, State Fair.
Yep. Yeah.
But you have like a younger rider.
Vegan.
Yeah. And he did a trick that he like.
Oh yeah,
none
of
you guys have been able to pull off.
No,
or just,
that one's so. It's not new. I mean, it's probably been around for about 10 years, but it's so rare, and it's such a difficult rotation. A lot of people still don't even understand it. In a way, it's kind of like a front flip 360. That's how some people describe it. But
so he's doing a front flip, but also spinning.
Yeah, you almost. So we were talking about that flare on the quarter pipe. This one, you almost lean forward and you roll, and it's so wild. And last year we went to what was it, Park City, and I tried them for like 2 or 3 days, and I just could not.
Couldn't hit it.
No, and even go back probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years. We did another trip just trying to learn those, and just I mean, it's such a bizarre.
And I saw him do it like a couple times, and then nailed it on like the second or third try.
Yeah, that was a very special.
No,
moment.
I could tell it was special. That's why I brought it up, because I remember how
felt
big,
like really authentically, like, oh my God, something major just happened. I still didn't understand what it was, but I was like,
no,
I
was like, you know, but you guys, the reaction from the whole team, and you'll have to talk a little bit more about the team in general, but yeah, the reaction, I was like, wow, that was something special. Like, we just witnessed some cool stuff. So and this I think bears some explanation. So you created basically like a bike show, right? Like a BMX bike show. Is that a fair description of it?
Going back to our bike park.
Yep.
You know, we had so many. I mean, a lot of us are just friends from over the years, but we've done many shows for other teams over the years. But it was a way to help our facility. And so we'd go to an event, talk about our facility and do what we love, and so it turned into more of a show team, and since COVID, that's been the one thing that we've never stopped doing, as long as events are still going. So we Mega Jump was the name we originally which was kind of a spin on the Mega Ramp. But Mega Ramp is no longer around anymore, but Mega Jump still exists. So
nice.
But then I noticed, I think there's a game on like the App Store called Mega Jump, and it's some weird little character.
I was
going to
say, I think I do know what that is. I feel like I might have played that during COVID when I was not staring off into space, like into the abyss.
But yeah, we have a group of. There's probably about 15 of us that we. Kind of all have the events on our radar, and we all work normal jobs for the most part, except for Deegan. He's still in school, although I think he is exploring a job
because he's the one that's like the young. He's like the baby. He's 16.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 16 and
fearless.
Yeah. Well, interesting fact about Deegan: his father, Tim Oliver, was the first person in Minnesota to do backflips. And he was someone that we all looked up to getting into the sport, and everybody knew, like, oh yeah, this guy Tim, like he does a backflip, and so it's kind of a full circle moment, and
cool.
Tim actually came back. Tim's in Pennsylvania now, but Tim came back and rode in one of our shows last year, and so we had kind of the father-son combo.
Oh, it's like a lineage.
And,
I love that. That's cool.
So shout out to Tim.
Miss
you, bud.
I mean, it's funny too because it's like, I mean, how long has BMX biking been a thing? Like, it's probably not long enough to have that many like family legacies, sort of.
Definitely, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we started sharing actually the Mall of America this year. We performed during the Olympics that weekend because freestyle BMX is now an Olympic sport, and so our show there shared the history of BMX, and so you kind of had people jumping curbs or just kind of casual stuff back in the 60s, and as you got in the 70s, it started taking off a little bit more, and then obviously the 80s and BMX and the flashy colors, a lot of the more of the bigger tricks and the flips, and then we had the movie Rad. You guys remember the movie Rad?
Oh,
I don't know if
Lori Loughlin was in it.
No, Lori Loughlin.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah,
amazing movie.
Okay.
And they're growing up trying to learn.
What's it called?
It's called Rad.
Which fits just like so perfectly with what I think of the ethos of BMX biking.
And but yeah, it's just a group of friends trying to make it to the big BMX race on this course called Hell Track, and it just shows not only the riding stuff but all the everyday stuff, and trying to take a girl to the prom on the back of his bag and then the bags. Yeah. Just like, what are you gonna? How are you gonna get me to the prom on your bike? And he's like, yeah.
That's what you should have done.
Got these polished up pegs for you.
Yeah. There was another one called BMX Bandits as well, but Rad was the big one back then. But then, 90s, and then
I feel like it coincides a little bit with like skateboarding.
Definitely.
Like that,
Yep.
Tony Hawk.
Yep.
Around, what was that? Like
Yep.
late 90s, early 90s,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. And I think the sport too, like even like we were talking about, boxing and shit just before the show, but the sports evolve, especially some newer sports. You see them evolve a lot faster in those beginnings. So I think it's like, even with skating and shit, like no one was doing like crazy flips or like double flips or anything in the very beginning, and then someone's just ballsy enough to try it, and then now the sport has evolved and it changes.
For sure.
And somebody's trying new shit and pushing the limits.
It's like gymnastics, and then you have Simone Biles, and it's just like, wow, okay, like yeah,
and I think it's super cool to see sports evolve. So
and the it wouldn't happen without the pioneers and those who paved the path.
Yes.
And, even thinking about Rad, there was only one guy at the time who was doing backflips, Jose Yanez. And
it was groundbreaking.
And it was like and back then, I mean, there's no social media.
I was going to say,
and
there was no ball pit or whatever to jump into, probably. Like
mattresses back then.
Oh.
And but I'm sure it was just word of mouth, and this guy was doing the backflip,
became a legend
and
overnight.
And how does that information get out there when there's no social media? It's like weird to think about.
The word of mouth factor is crucial. Obviously, it's like stood the test of time. Like, with the best, like getting shit out there. I mean, God, like we all knew about BMX like early on too, because it was just like so cool. It was like
I do remember, like I was never obviously, but my brother was into it kind of. I think he was kind of on the same level as you. Like he probably had a
one trick
busted Huffy or something. Who knows? We definitely didn't have the money for anything fancy, but we lived in the country when I was little, and so I think that they built like a little racetrack in our backyard because we had like a acre in the back that they could build something in, kind of like have this vague memory of like a track that they ran around out there, and then we would also sometimes do like little like dirt, what are they, like electric cars on and stuff.
I knew every curb in my city that I grew up on that was worth jumping. You know what I mean? And we knew them all.
Yeah.
And that's shit. I mean, I think that's a testament of time too, is like back when I was a kid, so I'm 39 now, and I was like 13, 10, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. Like I biked everywhere. No parents were giving rides. Like I spent all day on my bike. Go fishing, I'm biking there. Go to my buddy's house, I'm biking there. It's winter, fucking biking there. You know what I mean? It's like you just bike everywhere.
Yeah, well,
that was your getting around vehicle.
It's like the small town thing though too. Like I think it's I don't know. I mean, I'm from a small town, so I feel like it's like intuitive there. My brother and sister-in-law live in a sort of smallish town, and my nephew is 14, 15 now. I think 15 now. And he likes to bike so much. He bikes to school every day, and they got him like fat tires for the winter, and he went all winter long. Like they had to stop him the days that it was like in the negatives, because they're like, no, you cannot ride your bike today.
Shit. The fat tire didn't exist when I was doing. That was not a thing. It's that another evolution of the sport, or just bikes in general, I guess. But
it seems like every generation, no matter what type of sport it is, anyone getting into it sees what's kind of normal, and then they see that as normal, and then as they get into it, all the new stuff, it just every new generation just keeps stuff.
Do you think electric is a new
Funny you mention that. Have you seen those Surons or Talarias or any of those electric machines? There was one at Jeremiah had one at the West End event.
Yeah, no, they look almost like a small motorcycle, skinny kind of.
My mom has a electric bike. She bikes everywhere with that thing.
Okay.
Like more of a not a dirt bike.
Not
more
a dirt
like
bike.
A
I know what you're
bike.
talking about.
A pedal assist.
Yeah, more like a pedal assist type of electric bike that like the government's like giving you $1,000 to like try and get or something, some sort of thing.
But now that you say that, I do remember Jeremiah. It was Jeremiah that had it was like a little dirt bike.
They were riding them in front of the stage.
Yes, they were.
Doing
That
the wheelies and stuff.
so crazy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're on sale right now, and I just placed a Black Friday order for them.
Did you?
I was so happy. I've waited for years, and finally, So yes, I'm glad you brought that up. And PayPal did 6 months with no interest, so I had a good payment.
No, that's amazing. Yeah,
That's
I love
awesome.
all the payment options out there. That's besides the point. But what did you get?
Oh,
you
go
got
ahead.
So it's this Talaria, this MX4 is the model, but what I really find intriguing about these things, they accelerate so fast. And some events we don't have much space.
Yeah.
Kind of like West End. I mean, that worked out great. We had to have a starting ramp, but let's say you didn't have room for that. We did a test at one point. I think we had maybe at your event maybe 100 feet.
I think we had
of length.
80.
Was it 80?
Yeah.
I think we measured it out. It was within like 70 feet. We could start with one of those electric machines, flip them, and stop. It might have, I think it was less than that. But
Wow.
so for super tight spaces, it kind of opens up a whole new world of options.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm curious about it. And two guys have them right now, Jeremiah and David, and I'll be the third. So
That's cool. I mean, it was really wild when they were like in front of the stage. They were like, you know, riding around, and
so
it was
cool.
like this. So when we first got involved in this event, so we all worked together over Labor Day weekend on this event, and someone brought up like the BMX bike thing, and I just was like, what does that even entail? Like, I don't understand this. Like, I just totally could not conceive of it. And I was like, literally until I saw it, I was just like, okay, whatever. Partially because I didn't really have time to like sit and like look at videos and research it or anything. So I was just like, well, I guess we'll find out. But it was like, it was just like such an experience. Like, it was a really, really interesting experience. And I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, this is captivating. Like, this is so interesting. And so like, it was just very experiential. So how did that like, was that like a format? Because I guess you did it at the Minnesota Zoo when you were, or not Minnesota, the state fair.
That'd be a great client.
Yeah, that would be a good client.
Thank you.
That would be a good one. But at the state fair, so you did it when you were 16, but like, is that what the shows were like back then, or has it evolved over time?
That's a great question.
It was very polished,
thank
too.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way. I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, I was truly like, wait, what is this? This is kind of amazing.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, Alex and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel
just
like we've got like
watching
probably a
and
million
filming.
hours of footage
We
of
do,
it.
and eventually we'll figure out something with that. But
Well, and also
we have
like,
a backlog of shit we're getting done.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we did incorporate like the cold sparks into it, which you guys do pyro.
Oh, yeah, that
too.
was fun.
But anyways, I don't want to like get ahead of myself, but like tell us a little bit about like
By
how
the way,
that.
we got cold sparks that
Did
just
you?
showed up. I haven't even tested
Oh,
them.
you bought some?
Yes.
Because they were so
Because of you guys.
good. Yeah, they were so good. Like, it looked
Evolving.
so cool, especially in when it was dark. Yeah.
It's such a good thing. I mean, it can be that finale for you guys.
Right.
That those last couple whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Do we tell you, as you ride through that, stuff
It
goes,
in your
eyes?
I heard them saying it.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like you're cranking, and then all of a sudden you get blasted with, what is it? Like
It's not gunpowder, but it's not gunpowder. It
yeah.
like feels like that. It's like
Oh my
grit.
gosh.
It's like sand almost. It's like
Yeah.
whatever it is that makes the sparks. It's like some kind
Yes.
of gritty thing. Yeah. Which I guess like
Just shards of metal.
it's fine. You know,
Yes.
it's like a little
Yeah.
gunpowder in your eyes. No big deal.
And then it gets real bright, and then especially as it gets dark, then
Yeah.
it's very dark. So
Yeah.
the light's changing real fast. You get blasted in the eyes, and then you got to go flip or whatever right after
Right.
that.
That's
and
insane, by the way. Like
after the first night, we pushed them away a little bit.
They need to
'cause
be
it
a
was
little bit
better.
distance.
That's good.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask, like, are you wearing goggles
Yeah.
now?
Yeah,
Like, what do
I
you
thought about it. For sure.
You've all got cornea scratches.
just like swimming
after
goggles, like the skinny guys?
Yep.
But yeah. I mean, it looked amazing. So, but yeah, tell us how that kind of.
I mean, so I feel like my experience at professional events and contests maybe trickled into our shows a bit. I've always you could go to an event and you'd always know like how it's presented, and like if it's done in a certain way, you feel like rock stars.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And when you go to an event and it's not like that, you can feel it, you know? And so
you're like, oh, that was cool. But no, it's yeah.
And so after, years of that, you kind of know what makes a good show, and it, a lot, I think early on, a lot of times riders think it's the tricks, and yes, that does carry weight in it, but there's so many other things that contribute to entertaining. Yeah. And so I don't think that hit us as much early on, but over the last probably 5 years, it's been way more important. Even before that a bit, but having the right audio system. I mean, that's a huge, if your speakers are crackling and it just,
100%.
Or it sounds tinny or it's not loud enough, because the volume of it does make a huge difference.
How about the right amount of power?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we did.
Which I know we had issues with.
Yeah,
We had issues. Yeah,
We actually took the electric bike over to Home Depot to actually get some larger gauge extension cords. And that actually helped. But
Nice.
yeah, even the announcer. And I remember being at some of these events and I'd have my own introduction, and they would you could pick your song, and I was like
a walk-on song.
Yeah. And so, bringing that into the show and trying to make the athletes, feel that as well. Whether it's 500 people watching or
15.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect segue, because I do want to know about the creation of the intros that you. Is that your thing? Is that your voice, or whose voice?
No, that's Jason. Jason Seslova. Jason, dynamic voice talent. We met at an event probably 10 years ago. He announced a lot of the local mountain bike events throughout the state. And we clicked right away, and just great friend, great person, and extremely fun. And so, and his voice is just phenomenal. And so he is a great. So if you don't have a good announcer, we've always talked about this, you can have the greatest riding in the world, but if you don't have a good announcer, the whole thing can go bad.
Yeah.
It's flat.
So easily.
Yeah.
If you have a good announcer and the riders aren't necessarily the best, you still have an amazing show. I love to ride, and anytime I can get Jason to come out and announce, I mean, I know he's great at what he does, and we have such a very professional show. And so we talked about, he announces at Brainerd International Raceway up north.
Oh, okay.
And so he's very booked throughout the summer.
This is his whole career?
No, he's got it. No.
Oh, okay.
Well, like I said, most of us have our real world jobs,
yeah.
and this is kind of that balance in life that keeps us sane. So we were just talking about how, we could maybe explore some other ideas to not only make this show sound great, but so I could ride more as well. So that's where's kind of the idea of some of those pre-recorded pieces. But so I sent out a kind of a bio or a survey like you guys sent to each rider. Most of them probably didn't actually know what we were going to put together with this.
Oh, so that was made for that event?
That it was made for
those individual riders.
Right? You have a thing where you can select.
Yeah. So there's I sent this out to probably about 15 riders. They all filled out a basic bio, and then they also fill out a song or two choice.
Yep.
So then I record all these different, or put together all these pieces, all the audio tracks, and then I've got I started with the laptop. Then we moved to a tablet. The tablet was very slow. And you got to be very careful where you touch, because if you barely touch, or you try to scroll and you accidentally touch, it's so sensitive. Finally got a decent tablet, and you can do a split screen thing. So I have all the intros lined up, ready to go. You just tap them. So our riders can change at every event.
Yeah. So where we were doing 3 a day during this event, right? I don't remember exactly, but we did, I think, 3 a day, 1 day for sure. And it could be different riders every single time, but you have it all pre-recorded, but you can customize it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I kind of take a little survey on who's all there, and then I can go through and, skip through whoever's not there or whatever. And then, I mean, we're going to do another recording now that people knew what their answers turned into.
Some of them were so funny.
No, they were great.
They were great. I mean, I loved it. And this is we were there for 3 days. We were doing multiple shows a day. And so I was joking earlier that I had some of them memorized by the end of it, because I'd heard them a few times. But they were so endearing. They were really one. I just remember one was a father of two.
Yeah,
somebody
father of two, and he
delivers
loves
pizza.
dogs.
And and it was just so sweet. I think we were talking about this with Mark Nelson a little bit, that the Contender boxing show got me into boxing, because I was that person now, you feel personally connected to them. And it definitely made them, the riders, more appealing. I was just I love that, Deegan
Some
or whatever.
backstory is always good. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little history.
You become
there.
more invested.
Yeah. And their enthusiasm is also the thing that sells it. Like they're just like excited to be there. Like it's just like they have a lot of like golden retriever energy, which I love very much.
Some are more excited than others.
Yeah. But they faked it if they weren't because they all look excited.
all your guys.
Yeah.
And it's great. After the show, so many people come up to their favorite rider or someone that they have some type of connection with. And I'll see people talk for literally like hours after the show.
Yep.
Brand new,
Yep.
That's
and
wild.
So
they're like little mini celebrities in that moment. Yeah.
The other thing too, and sometimes we keep going back and forth. Are they too long? Are they too short? But especially as we did it, even at your event too, as soon as you start it, it's this like announcement that people started coming over.
Yeah.
So it kind of
like,
gave people time to come over. So I feel like it is another important piece. But yeah, no, that's
the showmanship is very cool, and I can definitely see, because as someone who like doesn't have any experience with BM, I'm like did not ever do anything related to it. You could probably get up there and do like the most remedial trick or the most like insane one, and I'd be like, cool. Like each time,
Sure,
you know, like
sure.
oh, that was cool. Like that's it, you know, like it doesn't necessarily feel like the one where he hit it that like no one else had done it obviously felt very different because you could feel that everyone was super excited about it. But aside from that, like they're all cool, you know, if you don't know how to do that kind of thing. So it's like you just the entire like kind of crescendo of it was the part that makes it feel very exciting and like alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I still think I could have ripped that jump, Alex.
Oh, you could. Well,
Alex didn't think I could do it. I was like, I could hit it straight on, just land normal.
And that's the best part. Like we have the best equipment now we ever had. You know, in the last 20, 30 years, there's just nothing with what we have. Even the size and the width of how much space they consumed, it's so safe. And
it seemed awesome.
I mean, I stood on the end of it and watched those guys fall, like people who were, you know, that were coming on the other end and like missing it or like not quite sticking the landing. And every time I'm like, oh my God. But there was only one guy that I saw at one point that looked like he might have like hurt his ankle a little bit, and then he walked it off and he was fine. And I was like, oh thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to actually, that's a perfect segue too, because I do want to talk about like the injuries in the sport and stuff like that.
Gosh, first injury, I'm trying to think of it way back. I definitely, I think I actually sprained a few toes or something early on. Had a similar boot type of thing.
Breaking your toes is like the worst.
I don't think it was toe. I think it was higher up on the. I don't think it was my toe.
Listen, I broke the same toe twice in college, and it is the worst because you can't do anything for it. You just have to tape your toes together.
Yeah, that's
terrible.
True. That's true.
It's terrible.
I think the so there was a contest overseas in France. And it's called FIS, and this one they're in quite a few countries now, and it kind of they collect a lot of the like seasonal points now that determines kind of the Olympic athletes.
Okay.
And so
wait, like so you have to score points to like
become
eligible.
Yeah. Yep.
When did it become an Olympic sport?
So this was the second
summer
one.
Okay.
It's been in. Racing's been in probably 4 years now, or four. The last 20 years or whatever, but
I was like one of the few ones I was like, I'm gonna watch this one.
Oh no way, you did? Yeah.
Oh, bike racing?
Yeah.
The BMX.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It's really cool to watch. I mean, it's like it's quick because it's just like they're going as fast as possible within a minute, but like it's really cool to watch. I think there was
it's gnarly too. If someone goes down,
I think one of them. First, second, and third was Spain. I think it was Spain, where like they all placed in the top 3.
Oh, really?
They were like hugging, and it was so cool to see. Like I wish it was America, but I was like, you know what? That is awesome that all 3 of them working hard together got to.
And even like the competitiveness. It's such a small group. Like everyone knows each other. It's such a friendly.
Yeah, like you can compete, but also still be homies, kind of at the end of the day. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I think the
injuries.
I somehow smacked my head. I thought I was fine. I went up, rode, continued riding. Don't do that. And I came up short and I like smacked my eye.
Ooh.
And I basically broke my eye socket.
Your orbital.
It was an orbital
fracture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very common thing in like fighting sports.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So they ended up taking me to the hospital. No one came with because the event was still going on. And then I end up, I'm in this random hospital in France.
How big was your shit? How big was your eye?
I'm sure I probably have old photos, but I don't know. It hurt, and I think everything was black. But I just remember getting there, and it was just kind of quiet. I remember people around. There was another guy there. No one really spoke English.
Right.
I wasn't. Marseille, I think was or I don't remember, but all I remember is I was trying to ask this guy if I could borrow his phone so I could email my family, and I don't. Do French have a different keyboard? Because I sent this email to my parents that was like
gibberish.
Yeah.
Maybe it just looked different to you because you were.
It could have been. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a joke that's like made in TV where it was just like,
well, if
like
it's
someone got a concussion, and it's just like, he's like, you're speaking French. It's like, well, that's crazy because I don't even speak French.
Right.
Like, that's the
Like, no, you were just talking gibberish. Like.
Totally.
Oh my gosh. But anyways, yeah. It all healed up. It was good.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Head injuries are what happens when you break your, arm or leg. You can't use it. Like it hurts.
Fuck.
Head injuries are a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Because it might look okay, but there's months of
It's
like
a lot of rehab.
Was it a concussion too? On top of it?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I would assume.
Yeah.
How hard did your head?
Yeah, I don't think
bounce?
I was done for a while, and then they'd wait probably 2 or 3 months, then wear a full face helmet, and that's when I actually started wearing a full face helmet.
Wow.
And then I'm fine now. I notice when I drive, if I'm backing something up and looking out of the corner of my eye, things kind of after 10 seconds will kind of blur out. I'll just need to like reset. But so anyways, that was kind of
how long ago?
That was probably 10-ish.
Okay, so it's fucked with you for a while. Yeah. Damn.
And then probably most recently was probably when I was probably wasn't too long after that. I broke my leg. And then it was all lower down here. There's a bunch of stitches, and I think there's
your tibia or fibula?
My ankle basically fell out of the bottom of my leg.
Shit.
And then they like threaded it back and like threaded it with a button to like hold it all together. And there's
That sounds
the X-ray
legit.
literally has
Yeah.
a button in
my
my
God.
leg right now. And they said
it's still in there?
They said as long as it doesn't
The
bother you,
button's
just keep
still
it in there. It felt robotic for a few years, and
Yeah.
now it feels normal.
Huh.
So
You're held together like a little rag doll.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, right, yeah.
Goddamn.
New nickname for the show, the Ragdoll. Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
It just makes you think of like Coraline with her little button eyes
Yeah.
or whatever, like your button
So
ankle.
since then, the airbags have started
Yeah.
to take over our sport.
Okay.
And all of those injuries, nothing was on any type of equipment like that. And the airbags were kind of new. It was kind of a training type of thing. And then we were really one of the first who started doing shows on airbags. We kind of the core of the sport. Probably gave us crap for a while about that. However, over the course of 5 years, like it took over. Everyone, it's safer. You don't have riders getting hurt, and then you have less riders. The crowd doesn't know the difference. The tricks are that much bigger.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, the ramp's still hard. It's a wood ramp or whatever, and you're just landing on a softer platform.
So the airbag inflates like the shape of the landing, but then we use it's dump truck liner. That's inside of dump trucks. Things slide off it easily.
Oh, so that's what they were landing on the back
Yeah,
and
that's
sliding
what's-
down.
yep,
Okay, because
yep.
they were like definitely. It looks like they're exiting an airplane in an emergency kind of. Where they're,
Almost like a
sliding.
gym mat.
Yeah.
It's
Slippery, more slippery
yeah,
than
it's
that.
still a hard plastic.
Yeah.
So it's not
It's
soft
not
at all.
foam, but yeah.
No, it's literally a hard piece of plastic, and it's just a big roll, and you just lay that on top of the airbag. So the airbag gives us that shape,
Right.
and then the riding surface is the plastic.
So you're still hitting like a sort of hard surface, but it has give to it. It's not
yes,
like
there's a little give to it. Yep.
Yeah, literally it looks like when you're like the thing that they roll out of airplanes if there's an emergency landing or whatever, and they have to like jump and slide down.
Yes.
It's kind of what it looked like they were doing.
And some of the airbags now are designed. Ours is as well, where it inflates the bottom portion, and then the top foot is a whole separate air chamber that has zip openings, so you can actually control
How much give?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I mean, it's funny to think. I can imagine that they probably did give you shit when you started doing it, like a bunch of pussies, you know, like
I'm
whatever.
Sure yeah.
Sorry, that's probably the first time we've used that word.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
Nah, that's all right. But if you think about it just strictly from like a logistical ROI perspective, like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, like fewer hurt people, less insurance, like maybe, I don't know, but definitely
Even the physical space.
Yeah.
We used to bring these big landings built on trailers, and I mean, there's a lot of benefit.
if that setup that you had for that show had to be brought in as it stood,
we wouldn't have done it.
There's no way you would.
Yeah,
You need
scaffolding
a
and
semi.
yeah,
Like, there's no way.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, so how long ago did you start doing that?
So our first airbag is probably a good 10 years ago.
Okay.
And now I think we have, gosh, I feel like every year for the last 5 years we've got a different one. So we probably have 6 or 7.
Okay.
And including that starting ramp. And that still no one's done the starting ramp.
Oh, okay.
We were the first ones to do that. It's
Yeah.
a little bouncy and whatever, but
I was up on it filming for a little bit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is just
Yeah.
bouncing around.
Like a
trying
bounce
to-
house, trying to stand on top of a
Oh
bounce
yeah,
house.
it's great. It was fun as hell.
It gives you enough speed that it justifies how much how much easier it is to transport, and set up, and tear down. And
So the starting ramp is below up, but it has the plastic on it.
Yep, we put the plastic on that
But then
too.
it's a hard ramp going back up.
correct,
A
yeah,
wooden one.
Yeah,
and
we
then-
actually had to build another hard ramp exiting that starting ramp
Okay.
because it was too like you
A
had to
little
get
too
a
loosey
good,
goosey. Yeah.
yeah, you have to get a good transition at the bottom and
Okay.
then into the other one.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I guess like if you are a layman, I don't think about any of these things because honestly, even just thinking about the fact of like, yeah, you have to get a lot of speed up to do any of these things, and how do you get that much speed in this short of a space, and like all of those like
sure.
logistics that go into it, like.
Yep.
People don't understand all the mechanics that go into that sort of thing, which is like, I mean,
Oh, for
most
sure.
Well,
events.
that's what you were saying about the electric bike is
Yeah.
that
Now you
these
can
fuckers
like
can
even.
Yes,
they do zip.
Yes,
They zip.
Yes.
Are there people in the industry that like look down on the electric bike edition to things?
I'm sure. I think
like
the
purists out there.
So like those specific bikes are more probably cross over more into the dirt bike or like motocross
That makes sense.
side.
Yeah,
And
that
I-
makes
Okay.
sense.
I think there might be more of that on
Okay.
that side of stuff. BMX is. I mean, we're kind of it's a separate thing. So I don't think many BMX riders would look at it and think that. But I could see where maybe the moto side looking down might. But I know there's more electric motocross bike, like full-size dirt bikes now, that are starting. I think like even events on the radar, like separate racing classes and stuff, just for those electric machines. By the way, if you look up, so X Games does like best moto whip, and they see how far they can turn their bike.
Before they bring it back.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Moto
yeah.
whips.
You do like a weird like.
So there's a few guys on the electric dirt bikes now, and because of the
Torque that you can
torque, they are actually turning them
180 and then back.
more than 180.
Oh,
Normal bikes were at 180. They're getting past 180 and then somehow rev the throttle and get it all the way back. Like, look up just this past year at X Games. It's insane.
Damn.
It's so crazy. But so I feel like that's another cool part of the new technology. It's going to open up new doors to, and there's probably only going to be a few that really, run with it, and they're going to, who knows, it's going to be cool to see the pioneers of that.
Evolution.
Yeah.
Evolution. And
That's cool. I feel like this is a thing that we talked about a little bit with Mark Nelson when he was here, the boxing ref, of the way in which like the boxing gym experience is so good for kids in that like it keeps them from getting into trouble, right? And boxing gyms is a little different because there's like a lower barrier to entry potentially, like money wise, especially if they can like go to a gym where they can use equipment and stuff.
Yep.
But this feels like a very similar thing where it's like kids who are involved in these kind of sports or any sports in general, like they just get in less trouble and they.
And it takes a lot of athleticism.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't want to smoke because you got to fucking keep your lungs good because you got to bike a shitload or, you know.
You can't. And I mean, hypothetically, I guess, I don't know, maybe people do BMX bikes super high, but maybe, especially when you get to a certain level, like.
It makes it better.
Yeah.
Trust me. Trust me. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, but I feel like if you get to a certain level, maybe you need to be a little sharper than that, like, I don't know.
Probably.
The top of the top are trained like it's a whole. I mean, it wasn't like that 15, 20 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, you started seeing a little more of it. But the guys who are at the top of the top, it's just that focus is like it's never
like
been.
they're any professional athlete. They're just like locked in.
It's
like,
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The stamina and to ride at that level and then to ride at that level for like 2 minutes straight in a contest run in an Olympic sport it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Diet. There's so many pieces
That makes sense too.
you know,
Yeah.
the ones who are really, really serious about it, pretty crazy.
No, that's awesome. What's the biggest crowd that you've performed in front of, do you think?
Oh gosh, Minnesota Vikings.
Ooh.
Okay.
By far.
So,
I mean,
how many is the stadium hold even?
I think
So
67,000.
our stadium here in Minnesota?
67 and 70,000.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, US Bank.
I thought it was like 74.
74. There you go. I don't know.
God damn.
It's up there. But what's interesting, X Games doesn't fill a crowd like that. Like, and when I actually had, so Jimmy Coleman, one of the X Games announcers, we did quite a few years of shows together, and probably some of my announcing actually comes from you, Jimmy. So thank you. But Jimmy, he sent me a message after one of these events that he saw we did, and he's like, "Dude, that would have been nerve-wracking." He's like, "I can't believe, what was that like?" And that's when it really hit me, and I was like, "What other event gets that many people together and to watch anything?"
Yeah.
And so to show BMX like that in front of that many people live, there's like there's nothing else.
That's
Was
huge.
it like so Minnesota Vikings? So it was like in the halftime show.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't think of the name. I was like, "What's it
Yeah,
called?"
I think Monday Night Football. We ended up doing 2. Like it was the year they opened, actually. It was, I think, against the Giants, one of the first few games, and that's when they announced that X Games was going to be there. And so that was another reason to
Wait, that was this year?
No, this is when the
stadium just
stadium
opened.
Oh, okay. Because
So that would've been like-
we just had our opener was against the Giants this year, so I
Oh,
was a
was
little
it? Oh,
confused.
yeah. So I did it the first year. There's a handful of other guys that flew in for that, and then the second time we were able to bring more local guys in, and I don't think anyone. I mean, a lot of shows is it's kind of the same type of routine, and in a way you might be a little numb to it or something, but I don't think anyone had any idea of how different this would be, and I would joke about it afterwards. So many riders struggled on the most simple tricks that there's no way they would ever, mess up on or whatever. And it just is crazy.
Yeah.
And that was a nonstop. I mean, you have probably 7 minutes or something to get out there. And they had a whole team bring.
I was going to say the ramps and stuff.
Yeah. The ramps were actually on a golf cart. So you drive the golf cart ramp out, and which I think came from Micah. And then they had a whole team carrying sheets of plywood, and literally within a minute, you had this whole thing lined with plywood, and in the landing area and everything, and ready to go.
I mean, they don't mess around. If you watch the behind the scenes of the halftime show at the Super Bowl and stuff,
Oh,
it's
God.
just a swarm of people. It's
Oh, my gosh.
amazing to watch. It's
Yes.
I mean, we think a room flip at a venue is something, and these guys are like, no, let's
Yeah,
flip
we're
this
going
whole
to do that,
stadium.
but we're going to do it in 4 minutes.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
the
my
entire
gosh.
stadium.
During
Here we
3
go.
commercials, we're done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that I think I've made it clear I'm not a sports person, but so with Monday Night Football, do they show the halftime show on the air?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
I think we got some footage from it or something.
I mean, shit, even still.
But still,
70K?
60,000 people is no joke. But I just was curious if it was broadcast or not.
No,
but...
I don't. Yeah, I don't think so. But so I announced that one, and or both of them, and Steve, who runs all their audio, his team runs everything at the stadium, and then I think a couple of the other venues. And I just remember him handing me this mic the first time we met, and he just gives me this look don't F this up. I knew, I was like,
that's a lot of
and
pressure.
so it was kind of intimidating. And then he's like, do you want the earpiece? And I was like, I don't know what the I don't know. What
Yeah,
is
what
what
does
is the
that mean?
earpiece?
What
I don't
does
know.
it
What
What does that
Yeah,
mean?
like I
He's
feel like
like-
you need a trial run for this. Come on.
I'd suggest wearing the earpiece, and I was like, he's like, when you speak, it's going to take probably 3 to 4 seconds before it actually gets out, and so this will actually allow you to hear your voice as you're
An in-ear
saying
monitor.
it. Yeah,
To monitor.
and
So you don't get
thankfully
the
I
weird
did
delay. Yeah.
that. Yep, and I just
Singers do it all the time.
Yeah,
you
and
have
then-
to because
yeah.
you can't hear yourself.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
You need to be able to hear yourself when you're doing that stuff.
So, and I was trying to think what I would actually say, and I think there were 3 or 4 kind of opening lines I planned out, and
Let's
kind
hear
of
it. Let's hear it.
shorter.
Let's hear it.
Well, I
It's been
can't.
on- it's
I
been-
think I
it's
was
been
just
on
like,
one
Minneapolis,
time.
how we doing tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said something.
You're like,
and
let's get
then-
ready to rumble.
Just like,
I don't know.
"Yeah."
Yeah, and then I think I just said.
That's Michael Buffer, by the way. Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, I think I just said I was like, I've got one question. Who here is excited for X Games 2020? You know, right here at US Bank Stadium, and look, like, dude, I got like chills going on my
I
spine.
bet.
Like,
I get chills thinking
it
about
sounded
it.
like this thunderstorm
Oh my
coming in,
God,
just like
that'd be
roaring,
so
like
wild.
it was so cool. And so then all the riding started and everything, and it was like, I think we're all kind of keeping an eye on time, and then they were going to give us the signal, or I think even beforehand going in, they're like, we'll give you the signal when it's time to start. And I'm like, and I was like, wait, what was the signal? Well, I don't know what the signal is. What,
Forgot the signal.
Go for it.
And then
They're like, go.
so then afterwards we got the wrap it up or whatever. So the guys came in, and you save the flips for the end, and all of a sudden they flip. As soon as that first flip happens, like that roar just comes right back.
Oh God,
and,
they must have felt just like a
Cloud 9 shit.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Superman out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. And then everyone did their flips, and then I said, thank you, Minneapolis. We'll see you at X Games or
Cool.
whatever. And so
I love that.
yeah, another very special moment. And so a couple years later, we got asked to do it again, and or this is one of those 2 times. But long story short, I was able to bring my family down on the field, and we have a photo. Shout out to Aaron for shooting the photos of us walking off the field, and it hit me at that moment, or I saw it later. It was the very first. My parents got divorced about 10 years ago, and we have no family photos since then.
Oh yeah.
This is the first time that our family was all in a photo together,
Yeah.
and my girlfriend, now fiance, my brother's now wife. I said they're having a baby in like 2 weeks here.
Yeah.
Shout out Matt and Kelsey.
By the time this comes out, there'll be a baby.
And
yeah.
yes, oh yeah, for sure. I'll be a second uncle, I guess now. Or-
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
And so, anyways, it hit. I was like, what are the odd? We just talked about growing up and riding bikes or whatever. Now, fast forward, all these different things happening over the years, all the hard work, all the broken bones,
orbital
all
socket
the, just
Concussions
everything.
and, yeah.
And now here's sudden we're walking off the field, the whole stadium in the background,
Ooh.
and our family, and it just like it's a pretty special thing.
Yeah.
that
That's super
it's,
That is super sick.
So, anyways, we printed some big signs or big photos at our warehouse, and they're all from Aaron Belford. Aaron's been there for so many of our events, but he has like his own gallery now at our warehouse. But there's one of the photos there. But
Was your dog
That's
there?
amazing.
oh my gosh, no.
What's your
We
dog's
didn't
name
have a
again?
Ryder.
Ryder.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I know it's something related.
Makes a
I
lot
yeah.
of sense.
could,
to call
yeah,
him Ryder.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yep, yep.
I know our event was probably equally as exciting. I understand that.
Well, that's the cool thing. Whether it's 70,000 people or 7,
Right.
You guys
like,
have fun, though.
oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah.
And that's my favorite part about these rides. And we just rode last weekend. It was 35 degrees. Like we just love riding,
Yeah,
and it doesn't
cool.
matter. People don't need to be there. But
I love it.
it's yeah.
It's impressive that, sometimes when they're like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And, some of us do what we love and work all the days. And you still have such enthusiasm for it.
Yeah.
Like, sorry,
Yes.
Alex is like, yes. But, you still have such enthusiasm that it's like, wow, you don't feel, jaded about it at all. And I don't know, maybe you do once in a while, but, you come across, very joyful about it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. No, it is a. I don't think any of us ever imagine. I mean, going back to sitting in school and watching, just looking up and remembering what it was like to be a kid and see the other, like to recreate that now. And I think we mentioned I teach at Hennepin Tech, some website classes there. And someone said something to me, I don't know.
What do you teach?
A year or two ago. I teach website classes.
Oh, yeah, the website.
And so they said, I know why you love teaching so much. I said, why? I said, because you're performing. I said,
interesting.
I never thought about that. You get up and you speak and you share what, and
then somebody gets better because of it.
It's crazy.
It's part of what you do on the daily with your team.
Well, and sharing what you love and like something that you enjoy and bringing other people. I mean, I think we talked about this with James too. It's just like building community, right? And like, it felt like very exciting to be like even just a viewer in that, and like to think about you as like a kid seeing a professional athlete, and then now you get to do that as an adult is very cool. That's really cool. I love it.
Yeah, and you still get friends from high school saying, "You still ride the kid's bike?" Yep.
Yeah, and I made a career of it. So,
and going back to your point too, we do have our full-time jobs. We do have our things. And I think that's a key piece to any hobby you enjoy. And if you want to, push it further, it can take other things like that to fuel it.
Right.
We would have had our bike park if I wouldn't have built websites.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you're trying to monetize something like that, it's like it can at some point probably only do so much, right? So like you have to have some other fuel to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
All the contests I talked about.
Yeah.
A lot of the people were looking at me like, I'm not the best rider. I can ride and compete at a decent level, but like no one was flying me out there. I was building websites to go get my ticket overseas. And so have a backup plan and use that to fuel and because it's tough. It is very tough.
What's the coolest place you've gotten to visit doing this?
That's a great question. BMX really opened up the world of traveling to me. And it was because there was a contest, in Costa Rica, or there's a contest in France. And so China was another one. And so after a while, and there's only so many contests, and so they happen to be in those same countries. But I really loved going to see in different areas. So after meeting so many riders over the years, I started to have
friends in different places.
In all these other countries that there's no contest either. So try to make a point to go and see some of them. And so I spent about a month in the UK, in England, with Matt Nicklin, and then we drove up to Scotland. We went to one of the parks up there.
Cool.
And I filmed a video. It's on YouTube. It's got 8 million views. I filmed some of the kids that were riding up there, and I did some little interviews and stuff with them. And that's by far the greatest video we put online. But
you have to pull that up.
Scotland, it's called.
You don't have to do it right now or whatever, but we should.
I did a bunch of these I call them Lil Pros Tour, and
Cute.
we just filmed kind of kids in different areas.
Yeah.
And
could you even understand these little Scottish kids?
Oh my! So very challenging. And then one of the fathers that was there, he said something to me. I was like, "What?" And he said it again, and they warned me before, and they're like, "You're gonna go up there, and they're gonna say you're gonna have no idea what they're saying."
And
I'm
it's like that's English, but is it? Like
yeah. And I was like, "There's no way I'm not gonna understand."
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I said, "What?" And he said the same thing, and I was like, "What?" And he said it again, and I was like, "I'm so sorry, I do not understand what you're saying." I'm like, oh my gosh! But yes, and it was really a magical place. But we did these little pros tours in quite a few areas. New Zealand was another really special place. We did Australia. My brother and I ended up going. So what I learned with these contests are all you need to do is just book a flight, and you can really go anywhere you want.
Yeah.
And so after a while, I didn't need the contest to go, and so we ended up doing and then after that, me and my dad and my brother actually did quite a few trips together. Often this time of year during Thanksgiving, and we did like South America, Machu Picchu. Went over to Japan, and Asia and Thailand, Vietnam. We did South Africa. We got my dad a bungee jump in South Africa.
Cool.
And then
did you do it on the falls there, or where did he bungee jump?
it's some bridge.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's like I think it's one of the bigger bridges down there. And we don't think about when you bungee jump. When you get to the bottom, what happens?
I've always wondered that.
You go hundreds of feet back
up. Ugh. Everything
what's
about
crazy.
that.
You don't
I hate
think
it. Yeah.
A lot of time in Europe. I did about 3 months. That England thing for a month. That turned into like 3 months of all these. I've done most of Europe. Went into Russia to meet some of the riders there. Actually, had a really good experience there. I have a cousin in Norway I went to see twice. Greece was amazing, and then Italy is where I proposed. So
love that. That's awesome.
In May.
That's cool.
So
very cool. I feel like it's if you once you make friends outside of like outside of the country, essentially, like having that as an excuse is really nice to be able to go visit friends or go places and stuff. But like at some point, because I used to travel quite a bit before COVID, and it's like, no, I'm going to intentionally make friends here, so I have an excuse to go back. And like,
100%.
Yeah, I had a friend in Paris who like would let me crash on his couch, and so I've been to Paris like 6 times or something. Because like, if you just find a cheap flight, like, and you don't have to pay to stay somewhere, I'm just going to go for a week because why not?
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that because it does feel like it's kind of like a widespread sport, but probably a fairly small community, right? I imagine it.
Oh, for sure. Like a lot of these places, you'd go and you're not sure where you're gonna stay at the night, but you go to the skate park and you meet some other riders, and all of a sudden you got a place to crash or whatever. But so yeah, it is a small, tight group like that. My parents also brought us on a trip overseas right after we finished high school, and that was actually before everything. So that's probably what really opened up my eyes to, even wanting to now go to a contest that was overseas or whatever. So that was a pretty special thing. I'm glad our parents, waited till we were older to do something like that. So
cool.
Do you have a favorite rider?
Oh my.
Can you play
top
favorites?
3?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
nothing beats the crew that I ride with. I mean, looking up to Dave Mira, and I mean, there's a lot. There's those for sure, but nothing beats your buddies.
Yeah.
It's like asking a parent to be like, "Who's your favorite?"
Who's your favorite kid? I was like, if you're friends with these people, you have to be like diplomatic
like when you're
about
a fan of a sport, like you can have a few favorites potentially. Like, even if they're your own crew.
There's definitely some great riders that do tricks in ways that no one else does, and it's like, wow, and some of their videos, and I'm sure you've seen like Danny McCaskill, some of the mountain bike. You've seen he's from Scotland, actually.
I love that you think we know.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about it.
Have you not seen that?
No,
I don't know. You'll have.
I'm trying to think of some of the more viral things that you may have
It's
seen.
possible we've seen it. I just wouldn't know.
Danny McCaskill. He does like balancing tricks and in streets and different roads and everything. But I would imagine you've probably seen it.
It's very possible I've seen it and just don't know that I've seen it.
What is your favorite trick, whether you can do it or not? What's your favorite trick?
Well, the flares that we mentioned earlier were always a favorite, but it's not really a show. You don't have the right equipment to do it at a show typically. And so usually the backflip tail whips are was always a highlight one, but the double flips were always a trick that I never even wanted to explore. My era of riders, there's been some injuries, and it wasn't something I ever wanted to do.
I saw some of your guys doing double flips.
I did one at that event.
I
just
feel
learned
like
it.
you did it.
Did you do a double front?
No, no one did it in double fronts. Yeah.
Is that not been done or what?
It's been done.
All right, I'm gonna come on the scene.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no, just kidding.
No,
just kidding.
yeah, you got a big ramp for that.
Yeah, the double flip obviously is super highlight reel.
It's wild.
Yeah,
and
it's wild.
Going back to the knee thing I mentioned, your knees, it's just like that in the double flip. It's crazy after a while.
Alex, do we have footage of a double flip?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I
I can't remember.
I'm
I know
an
we threw a couple
encyclopedia
GoPros on
of
some of
footage
your
right
guys,
now.
and even
yeah.
you one
Yeah.
at the, I don't know if we got a couple. We might have got you on a double flip. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to look.
There was a few.
Yeah,
And
there definitely was.
Actually,
I
I remember. I had one of my gnarliest crashes on double flip at that event.
Oh no!
And it was dark, and that plastic is dark as
right.
well.
So you can't really
And
see
you're
what it's coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I just remember.
And you had stuff in your eyes, probably.
probably.
Yeah.
And I remember
Cold
going
sparks.
around,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, just
Bam.
like face and everything. I
Ooh.
hit so hard. And it was my first one, and so I think the next day I had to do it again to get past that. But I hadn't under rotated on one until your event. So thanks, guys.
Sorry.
that trick in general, though, there's quite a mental barrier to work through, and we did a couple trips out to those foam pits and stuff to work through that. But yeah, that's
That is interesting because, like, yeah, the mental barrier of just, I mean, I would have a hard time even just like riding down the ramp, much less like trying to do any of those tricks. But like, there's probably, I imagine, a lot of like mental training that goes into some of that stuff. Yeah.
So we do a lot of 720s, and some of the guys are like, double flips are easier than sevens, and I was like, kept thinking about it, and then
What is a 720?
Where you spin around 2 times.
Oh, like,
but it's like you have to stay balanced right or whatever versus just hucking a double flip.
Yeah.
So yeah, after thinking about it, I was just like, but it's weird. It's kind of an interesting feeling now because after all those years of sport, this one trick that you felt like that wasn't something you wanted to mess with, after doing it, there's this odd sense of like completion or something that I never really felt before.
Interesting.
Yeah,
like conquering those fears or something like that. Yeah.
I'm sure some of it's fear based. Yeah, it's just like, or you butched it in the past and you got hurt and broke the orbital or whatever. And you're just like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah,
it's just like, fear will prevent.
You have a pretty good like YouTube following and like a really active channel with that of stuff that you do. You were talking about the what did you call it?
Lil Pros Tour.
Lil Pros Tour.
Yeah.
The Lil Pros.
Yeah. Has that like contributed to like your shows or the stuff that you do or any of that?
I would so most of their YouTube stuff is actually quite a while ago. I feel like it was before you could like subscribe for notifications and stuff. Or you could subscribe, but you couldn't hit the bell to like turn on.
Yeah.
But so a lot of the videos are 10, at least a lot of them are 10 years old. I did for a while. I was doing something called "The Show Must Roll On," and the whole idea was no matter what happens, because there's always something that happens at an event. The show must roll on.
Right.
Like you must, and whether we lost a tire on the trailer on the way there or, whatever.
Love that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally, like that
makes a lot of sense.
You don't get a do-over when it comes to events. It's not like, having I don't even know, like a Broadway show or something, although like it's a different audience and stuff, but it's just like a lot of times when we do events, there's no do-over. It's do or die.
You get one chance at it, pretty much.
Event, like it's not I can see on Broadway where you have the same show in the same stage with the same people and saying like we don't usually have different people. It's in a whole different place, a whole different type of event, the space, everything. So there's always different variables going on. But the whole idea there was just to share what happens outside of the actual show. In BMX, there's nothing that doesn't really exist.
It's kind of like what we do here a little bit too. Like this is like event people talking about like the crazy shit with events and what we do outside of it. So
yeah. I want to hear about the cover photo of what was it? The BMX mag?
BMX Plus.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, tell me about that.
That
experience.
was a contest in Arizona, and it was super windy, and I was just trying to ignore it and ride the best I could. And so I think some people were a little hesitant, but I rode really well. And
what was the setup like?
It was there was 2 like shipping containers stacked on each other, and then there's another landing. So you actually had to start at the shipping container, and like what a bunny hop is?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you lift both tires off the ground without.
So you had bunny hop
without a
off
jump.
the shipping container, land into the dirt landing, and then you went into 2 big dirt jumps, and then you jumped into like a berm that wrapped around, and then came out, and then you had one final jump. And I rode really well, and I think I was definitely surprised of where I placed, but I ended up winning the contest. But they were shooting, one of the magazine photographers was shooting there, and he just randomly had a great shot that it wasn't even part of the contest run or anything. It was just in practice, and they ended up. I had moved to California for a couple winters, and so I don't know. I think
smart.
yeah,
Smart, especially now we're in cold season.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have, any of that wouldn't have happened if I would have done that actually. So yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. Now it's odd because what's the status of magazines? Are there still a lot of magazines? I don't even know.
I mean, I think it's a huge accomplishment from back. I don't know how long ago it was, but I mean, I think still like getting placed in a magazine or front cover.
Yeah, and I think that it feels like a lot of, if there are magazines, they're very niche. They're like very like,
which BMX would be.
Yeah,
you have a huge cult following of dudes that are going to be like all up on that and like get every monthly subscription or whatever. And they're
magazines are still around. They actually have e-magazines now, so like they just
on tablets.
I think it's digitized a bit, but
So yeah, it's hard to. I always wonder. I'm like, does anyone know what the magazines are? The riders today,
These kids,
because I don't think they're. I think a lot of those BMX magazines are actually. I don't think most of them are around anymore. So
makes sense. Was that X Games then?
No, that was a dirt. No, it wasn't.
Okay. Well, what about the X Games side of it? So have you competed?
I never rode an X Games.
Okay.
We did. So that whole Little Pros thing I was talking about, the videos. They had an outdoor course set up on the main concourse in front of US Bank Stadium, and we actually got to fly in a few of these kids.
Oh my God, cute!
To do demos.
Okay.
Outside of US Bank Stadium out there. So there was a couple of videos from that we ended up putting online, but. That would be kind of my extent with working with X Games. Did we talk about Cowboy Jacks?
No,
no.
Before the show we did.
Briefly from the
and
show,
Red Bull wanted to do something during X Games.
Okay.
So we built. You've been to Cowboy Jacks downtown?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can go upstairs and go to the second floor.
Yeah.
And up.
Mm-hmm.
We built a ramp down the stair set and a jump that went over the handicap ramp into the riding bowl area and filled it with foam.
Oh my God.
So we built a foam pit and we ran our own foam pit contest during X Games that weekend.
Amazing.
Like celebrating the greatest event in our hometown.
That's cool.
And we had judges with scorecards up on the top, and we have a video from that reminds me of like a Travel Channel segment or something.
Was this the X Games in St. Paul by the cathedral?
So you're thinking of
the ice.
You're thinking of Crashed Ice.
Yeah.
Crashed
Red
Ice.
Bull.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
That was huge too. And they did a little vendor village down on the street there. We did our brand, the Ride Minnesota stuff. We set up out there while those were all going on too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
We're trying to
go for it.
Remember Lumberjack days?
I don't, but Alex does, I guess.
So Lumberjack was huge back. Like even my mom remembers going out and seeing big concerts and different things out there in Stillwater.
Oh, okay.
And so, anyways, they're trying to bring it back, and we did some shows out there last year. But we're talking about doing more of some type of contest or something. We've heard that Red Bull might be because some of the main contacts that were there that ran a lot of those big events back in the day aren't there anymore, or they may have pivoted for a bit. But we've heard there might be some more opportunity again. So we're starting to talk about that for next year for
That's cool.
events. So you know how much time goes into planning events.
I mean, yeah.
The earlier you can get on it, the better.
12 days or so, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that happens too. The Vikings was 2 days before.
Oh my God.
That's why even when we reached out, I was like, wow, this is normal.
I mean, that was
Last
like,
minute.
what, 10 days before? So I don't even know like how fast it was, but it was within 12 days
I'm
probably.
sure you had no problem finding dudes to
Oh yeah. No,
like the Vikings thing within a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they're like, hell yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, they're like, yes, sir.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm offended that you asked me.
Well, I think the day
Sign me
before.
up.
Yeah, well, and then I think the day before we were in Sioux Falls, and you had to sprint back and then get all of our stuff ready, and so. But yeah, a lot of times you make it work.
That's amazing. I love it.
So okay, and then you have the brand engine. I don't know what to call it exactly. That you do like incubator for other people's brands and stuff like that. Or?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So with Ride Minnesota. family and friends had asked for Ride Wisconsin.
Yeah, I also
Ride.
have one. I did not wear my hat, but
Texas.
it is
Cool.
very comfortable.
So yes.
I love the hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we do all 50 states, and then it turned into fish and hunt and a lot of these other activities. And so as a web developer, we had, I tried to figure out what's the best way to, put all this stuff online, try to organize everything. Over the years, we've needed to create tools for people to be able to run these brands and create their products in their stores and stuff. And so over the last few years, we've been helping more of our dealers that sell products with their own apparel. And one of the dreams I've had is how can we create stores for athletes? And so an athlete I know it's a nightmare dealing with merch. And so if we can create kind of a turnkey solution for athletes to have their own signature merchandise, we take care of everything in the back end. They just share their link and promote it. That's always been kind of a dream to have, and we have a lot of that stuff right now. So There's a professional snowmobile racer that has a store, actually a handful of snowmobilers that come in this season now. We'll have some, and so we do a lot of online stores and websites.
So they set up their own like merch website, and it just directs the sales to you, and you guys create
we do a lot of print on demand stuff.
Cool.
That was another, with having all 50 states, holding all that inventory would be very difficult.
Right.
So we do a lot of stuff on demand. We had to get really good at doing stuff on demand.
Is that considered drop shipping?
Yeah, but we would actually be producing it.
Yeah, there's no middleman, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so we do actually. So we have a Ducati Omaha in Nebraska. They do all motorcycle equipment. They don't want to deal with casual apparel. We drop ship in the background for them. So, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Like hypothetically, if somebody wanted to do like merch for an event specific,
Yes.
like you've got a turnkey system to set that
Hopkins Raspberry Fest.
Yeah.
We did a handful just this past year
Okay.
with these pop-up stores, and it's even the Raspberry Festival has had orders year round,
like off season. Yeah, that's interesting.
And they would just do some T-shirts and be kind of cautious about how much inventory they ordered. Well, when they said
because they don't want to sit on the inventory either,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
So we just added their shirts, but then at the same time we're like, why don't you add a hoodie and a couple other items?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a store of a dozen items or so, and they'll sell stuff here and there, and I mean it's any event merch. If you don't want to go, and I always tell people, do both. Use this as another way to complement what you currently have, or if you don't want to, carry windbreakers, or you want to have some other alternatives. You never know how. There are so many people who want to support different causes and different things. So, and that's what we learned with a lot of these different projects and clients, and so try it and
you never know. I mean, it's like it's a community thing, right? Like if you see somebody wearing a Ride brand thing, you're like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, so like having all those like niche communities that can feel like a part of something, like I think that's only going to be bigger, never smaller, really, right?
Yeah. So Ride brand was kind of our where things started, and then we had Fish brand and Hunt brand. Life brand was the name of our company, and then My brand is kind of our program for printing for other people.
For athletes specifically, or events, or anyone?
Okay. Events, nonprofits. And we do a 50-50 profit share on anything that sells. So, and for the most part, everything's on demand. And it's been a fun
I'm going to set something up and start sending you just weird shit to print, because I want a shirt that looks like this, like
Event Life TV merch.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. That's super cool. So the Life brand is the apparel, merchandise, all that stuff. What is the name of the BMX show itself? Like, what is that?
So Mega Jump. Mega Jump BMX show. Okay. Mega Jump. We always have had like a motivational piece to it. And so on our site it's like motivational experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mega Jump is what we've always used.
Do you
over the
do
years.
it for like schools too? Like a lot of
Yeah, we actually just did a school in Bloomington.
Fun. Oh my God,
and I really love doing the local schools. I did 10 years of anti-bullying tours with the Marines. We'd go to different high school in a different city every week, or sorry, a different high school every day in a different city each week, and those were all over the country. But when we're here in our hometown with all the local talent here, like Deegan is living in Bloomington, and he shows up at a Bloomington school. He's like this local,
like
and
little hero.
and so our story is just so much more powerful.
Yeah.
To go into a school and share what we do. So yes, schools for sure, and sometimes we'll add more of a anti-bullying or goal achievement or healthy lifestyles.
Did like that side of things, like, or the motivational side, did that come after like doing it a few times, where you're like, that helps to sell the brand? Or
the tour that I was involved with over the years, that's been around, with the one with the Marines has been around for probably 20 to 30 years. And it was like a anti-tobacco thing back in the day, and then it changed to bullying. And so I guess when I was doing a lot of those shows, that was kind of just normal over the last 15 plus years. And so the motivational side, I think, is driven more from just our group of friends and what our experience with action sports has been like.
Yeah.
And so it's
because like you said earlier, it's like you're jumping with some buddies, you motivate each other to do better and better, and it just like makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I like that.
Pretty special thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
You have anything else?
No, I just like, it wasn't going into that weekend, it wasn't something that I expected to be like very into, and I left being like,
it was like the highlight.
Yeah, I was like, everyone should have this at their event forever. Like, if you have the space for it and the means to do it, like, it was such an unexpected cool addition to things that I wasn't really like, I didn't know what I was really getting us into. Like, I was like, well, here we go. Like, I guess we'll see what this is. And then afterwards I was like, we're doing this all the time, anytime.
Yeah.
It was very cool. So
well, I appreciate that. And for to have a first impression like that is, I'm even going back to that Mall of America event we did, that was actually booked the week COVID shut everything down.
Oh my God.
At the Mall of America. It took almost 5 years to get back there. But think about all the different things that have happened over the years, or the equipment changes, the experience, everything. And so now when we go into an event, that first impression is definitely changed from, where it was 5 or 10 years ago. So it's exciting. Every year things get better and better and better and better. So
yeah, I love that. Well, and because we're in the event industry, like, if people want to book you for these types of things, how do they find you?
Yeah.
Just megajumpshow.com.
Okay.
Mega Jump Show.
Nice.
And just, I would say, just reach out. Even if you don't have an event in mind or a date or anything, just connect. That's it. Let's keep in touch. We do a lot. We love different types of events and curveball things all the time.
And like brainstorming ideas. And I was like, how do we get it into the Star Awards this year?
What is that?
Totally could.
Oh,
we'll talk after the show.
Yeah, we'll talk about it afterwards. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, that would be great.
But yeah, that, and then the lifebrand.co, right?
Yep, lifebrand.co is all of our merchandise and apparel and everything. But if anyone ever has any questions or needs any help, or just want to chat or go ride,
yes, sir. Yep. Once I'm on the mend here, I'm gonna hit you up.
Get his Huffy out.
I gotta prove to Alex that I can make that jump.
That's right. That's right.
I still think I can do it.
That's right. Yeah. And we'll go to set up at was it
James's? Yeah,
James's spot.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be
over at Quincy Hall or something. Yeah.
Quincy's maybe
the
tall enough if you do it between some of the
rafters.
The trusses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're good at aiming.
I'll do some measuring.
Out with those can lights.
It really, actually, you guys were surprisingly good at aiming. I was like, this feels like a very narrow margin of error, and then I was like, oh, okay, they got it. Never mind. Yeah. I was like, there's like cafe lights like right in the middle
hopping
of
in
this.
between cafe lights.
Yeah.
You clothesline yourself or something.
Yeah.
But no, you guys did it right. Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Very
It was
special.
great.
Thanks for all that you do, and even the first event we were able to do together it was a great first impression on our side as well, and even logistically, and it's just cool to see it all come together.
Yeah.
So,
well, first, hopefully not the last.
that's right.
So, yeah.
That's right.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for watching the podcast. Hit the like and follow button to stay updated on our latest episode. If you have ideas of topics or guests you'd like us to interview, drop us a comment, and we'll see you next time.